All right, Adam. Well, good morning and happy Monday to you. Hopefully, you're doing well after our amazing Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I don't know about you, but it was a great Thanksgiving. How was yours?
Good. Still full.
Still full? You got a few of those leftovers in the refrigerator, right?
More than you know.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, good to have you on the Conscious Corner podcast. Excited about our little conversation this morning. Also, thank you very much for recently joining the Austin chapter board for Conscious Capitalism. I hope you're excited about that as well.
Very excited. Very excited.
Good. We got some good work to continue to do in Austin with that. So, hey, Adam, instead of me, just kind of going through kind of the cliff notes, if you don't mind, just share with our audience, a minute or so, maybe two, just a little overview on yourself and why you're on this conversation.
Happy to. Yeah. So my name is Adam Sharma, VP of Strategic Innovation and Partnerships at a nonprofit called Human IT, a nationwide nonprofit. I spent the first chunk of my career in electronics and wholesaling, so distribution of electronics, before the opportunity of Human IT allowed me to turn my eye towards what that looks like on the back end. Right, so an organization that repurposes those items takes them back in kind of, as somebody else on another podcast told me about it, cleaning up the mess that I was making in the beginning of my career. Right, so I do have my master's degree from UCLA Anderson School of Business, specializing in marketing and social impact, as well as a graduate certificate from UCLA's Institute of the Environment and Sustainability. And conscious capitalism is something that I've been a part of in various cities for a couple of years now. And I'm very excited to, as Andrew said, join the board, as you said, and to help create a space for like-minded individuals in our community, specifically here in Austin, but across the country, to have to work together, learn from each other, and just move us forward as a society in a better way.
Yeah, awesome. Moving forward in a better way. What a great way to maybe segment to our conversation, Adam. So thank you for that context. Adam, for conscious capitalism, we think about often what's the framework or the four tenets. One of the things that, in getting to know you, that I love about Human IT is one of the tenets about a higher purpose. Business is a good means to achieve, greater purpose. And, you talked about repurposing technology. We spend, billions and billions of dollars on that in a great way. What your organization is doing to help elevate humanity by leveraging that technology and repurposing it. So great higher purpose. And I think today we may spend a little bit more time pressing into stakeholder orientation. How do we create value for all stakeholders that we're having an opportunity to serve and interact with, not just maybe classically shareholders as an example. And for you, pressing into conscious leadership, how do you, Adam, in your business and in the community of Austin, focus on creating value and aligning common interests? So as you said, we can keep moving things forward here in Austin. And lastly, just creating a culture in your organization that's intentionally developing and promoting the values of conscious capitalism in your business. And I know you're doing that. So, hey, Adam, I'm hearing throughout this past year, conscious capitalism sounds, super interesting, elevating humanity for doing good, right? But is this challenging? Is it easy to do? What's your experience? What's your thoughts on that question about being a conscious capitalist?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. It's something that I think it's both. I think it's hard and it's easy, right? It's hard because, well, let's be honest, anything worth doing is kind of hard, right? Those big ways to change society is not an easy thing to do. In the implementation and in the phase when you kind of look at it as a whole, but it's easy in the sense that we are all conscious in our own everyday lives, right? We know what's a good decision. We know what's a bad decision. We know what's generally going to be a positive thing. We know when we do something that may be a little bit selfish and not great for other folks. We know all of those things inherently as humans, right? And all we have to do is apply those to business. So I think it's easy to understand how to be a conscious capitalist, but it may be a little bit harder to implement than we would like.
Yeah. I'm with you. So that excitement about, hey, this is the framework. We just talked about the 4 tenets. Love it. Makes a lot of sense to me. But then the next question is, okay, well, how do I actually practically go do this, right?
Right. And that's the thing where you have the ability in your business to make those decisions and to make those calls and to implement them, even in the small scale, right? It can be as easy as adding recycled bins, right? If you want to look at the sustainability aspect, it can be as easy as raising your minimum wage, right? If that affects your bottom line, it doesn't affect your bottom line in a negative way. So it's really interesting how people want to talk about conscious capitalism. They think of these big, grandiose ideas, but really, it's like anything. You start with a single step.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so let's press into that a little bit about the single step and implementing and making it happen. I think as we've been speaking recently, I know you're pressing into, and correct me if I'm wrong, a little bit more into the stakeholder orientation and looking at all stakeholders. So what are some steps, if you will, that you're taking these days on pressing into that one and why?
Yeah. And that's definitely one of it. It's hard not to do all of them, but that's one that I'm a little more focused on. And it's really about maybe not necessarily creating value, but it's understanding the value of the stakeholders, the values of what brings value to the stakeholders first, right? So when we work with our partners, I have a different conversation with an IT person than I do with a sustainability person, right, in their roles, because they have different goals, they have different values that they're looking to get out of our relationship. And I think that if we do that as businesses, not just with our partners, but with all the other stakeholders, right, the people who our business affects, whether that be through emissions, through where we are actually physically doing our business, hiring practices, what our business means for even traffic in the local neighborhood if we're affecting that, right? So being able to look outside of what is directly hitting your business and what's directly on your doorstep in front of you can make a difference. Right? So I think that with creating value for all those folks, it's also not creating an issue, right? As much as it is creating value.
Makes sense to me. So what I'm taking away from your comments there is, so you have different peoples in an organization or stakeholders in an organization, as an example, and they all have potentially different value sets. What's important to them, and what value means to them, and unless you know that, you can't really align with what your view or your perception of value is. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, good. And any other insights or best practices that you're seeing to work with the stakeholders and implementing conscious capitalism? Anything else you'd like to share?
As far as stakeholder orientation, it's really just listening is the key. We have here in Austin where the city is working on doing some listening sessions with folks on the wrong side of the digital divide, which is our industry. So we're just listening. We're just listening to neighborhoods. We, as a company in our Detroit facility, we're running focus groups right now. So listening to the folks is very important. And then the other thing I'd say, as far as conscious leadership, as we talked about in the early part, I'm excited to find a place. I know we're all out there, right? I know that there are people through my conversations, through my work, I know there are a lot of folks who are interested in doing the most sustainable business practices, being socially impactful in their business practices, but we're all out there floating. So I'm hoping that conscious capitalism also can become a beacon or a meeting ground for all of us.
Yeah, awesome. Something that you mentioned that maybe you can help educate me a little bit. Digital divide, and then you mentioned the other side. I think I know what that may mean, but for me and for our audience, can you tell us a little bit about what that means and what you guys are trying to do to make an impact?
Absolutely. So the digital divide really represents the gap between folks who are connected and able to successfully use digital tools, internet, computers, so on and so forth, and those who aren't. So before the pandemic, we don't have updated numbers. Before the pandemic, approximately 1 in 5 Americans didn't have either high-speed internet or laptop computer in their home. So that's what that represented. Now we know that as far as digital literacy, that's always evolving, right? Digital literacy, I had a really fun conversation with with someone over at Dell who's been at Dell for many years the other day, and she mentioned, as we were talking about this, that she used to get calls at her IT help desk because people thought that they had broken their coffee mug holder, which turned out to be the CD-ROM drive that was popping out of the computer back in the early 90s. So that's the digital divide then. The digital divide now is I don't know how to go on and create an email. I don't know how to, go on and search for a job, write a resume, like those types of things, or even just get on a computer to call your doctor, right? Do a telehealth visit, which we found was so important back in 2020 and even going forward.
Well, we're very fortunate in that, we're a growing, thriving business in digital, and, we're dealing with those innovators and, transformation people, right? And sometimes need to step back and realize that there is that divide. So thank you for sharing that, Adam. All right. One of the questions I like to ask, is there anybody within the conscious capital movement or not-for-profit or business or beyond, just in community that you're really looking to as a leader and, have demonstrated this framework of conscious capitalism?
There's not a specific person, but there's a lot of interesting things going on. I read a lot of different newsletters and things because I'm in I kind of touch a lot of different industries. So with recycling and waste and with tech and digital divide and all these fun things. But one thing that I've been seeing a lot lately is something that I have a personal interest in, which is using behavioral psychology to help people make decisions that are better, right? So it can be as easy as changing the height on the trash can, where it's easier to put it in or easier for people to see what goes in there, using pictures versus words for what goes in the recycling bin versus what goes in the trash can. Like all these little nudges and interventions, as they're called in the industry, are super interesting. And that's kind of the focus area, I guess, that's been interesting to me as opposed to a specific leader.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the other side of that, Adam, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm actually training a Belgian Malinois to do search and rescue. So I'm learning a lot about dog and animal behavior, which is kind of a new adventure. Pretty exciting just to learn about those different behaviors, right? Yeah. So when you're not looking at behavioral science as it relates to the digital divide per se, and you're not spending all your time trying to make a difference for humanity, what do you do for fun?
Yeah, good question. That's one that took me the longest to think about. But I have a 1-year-old daughter, and that takes all my time, and that's really fun. Watching her learn and kind of understand the world through her eyes and see how she advances and learns things and just continues to be amazed by things, and we're continually amazed by her. And that's honestly my pastime for right now. So taking her to new places, going outside and looking at the leaves change and fall and all that fun stuff. It sounds simple, but it's pretty fun right now.
Awesome. And your daughter's name is?
Avira.
How do you say that?
Avira. Avira.
Very nice. Lovely. Well, that's a very exciting journey ahead, having 2 daughters, one 27 today, one 16. You've got a lot of excitement in front of you, Adam, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so that wraps up our conversation with Adam today on the Conscious Corner. Adam, thank you so much. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, can they just reach out through LinkedIn? Is that the best way to do it or other?
LinkedIn is the best. I'm on there once a day.
Good. And how do they find out some more information about your company? What's the URL?
Yeah, it's just human-i-t.org. We're a nonprofit.
Okay. All right. You want to say that one more time so
sure.
Just get it right?
human-i-t.org, like human.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Adam. Thanks for the conversation today. And if you like some more information about conscious capitalism or the Conscious Corner, go to consciouscapitalism.org. Adam, good to see you today, and we'll see you around the corner.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thanks.